Our inherent inability to manage the complexity of society, economy, and nature together is the greatest problem facing humanity. Most scientists are now saying that climate change is an all-out emergency. But scientists and academics have never once yet communicated that what we are facing is a management crisis, not a scientific one, which is resulting in mounting chaos around the world and at every climate conference. What is it going to take for us to move beyond the endless warnings from highly intelligent people who have been trained in very narrow fields of knowledge? We praise that academics should guide government, but we ignore the extensive research by Saul, who showed that with higher education, major blunders in the world became far worse after the Age of Enlightenment. And this is what he found. The reality is that the division of knowledge into feudal fiefdoms of expertise has made general understanding and coordinated action not simply impossible, but despised and distrusted. What he said there means that when we separate academic thought into specific areas of expertise, it becomes impossible for there to be combined understanding and action, which is exactly what the world needs right now. There is never a word about management or policy being the cause of climate change. We are blaming natural resources like coal, oil, and livestock, instead of blaming our decisions which cause the unnatural use and behavior of our resources. Nobody is talking about global desertification and biodiversity loss being the biggest cause of the climate changing, possibly even more than the fossil fuels we blame, which means there is not a hope in hell of any sensible action. Scientists are now admitting that we are causing climate change, so they are unwittingly acknowledging that our management is the problem. But media, academics, and political leaders continue to treat this as a scientific problem. But it is not a scientific problem, it is a management problem. When developing policies, all governments divide the inseparable complexity of human societies, economies, and the environment into separate ministries, resulting in knock-on global biodiversity loss and desertification, which is not only fueling climate change, it is causing rapidly mounting social and economic instability because those things are inseparable. For all species, including us, suitable habitat is the most essential requirement for survival, and we are causing the loss of ours rapidly. And while each of us can make a change to improve the way we personally manage our lives, families, farms, or small businesses, we can only do so to a point, because no matter who we are or where we live, we are all managing our personal lives within an economy which is being impacted by mass environmental destruction, which is driven by the global financing system. So, while we can and should all do our best as individuals and families, we cannot save humankind from the global catastrophe we face on our own. Because beyond the boundaries of our families, our societies are managed at scale through companies, corporations, governments, universities, churches, and other organizations. People, economies, and nature are managed through organizations at scale. And governments manage entire countries through the enforcement of their policies, laws, and regulations. Our management at scale is by far the biggest cause of global biodiversity loss, desertification, and climate change, because all governments develop policies in the same reductionist way. They divide the inseparable complexity of society, economy, and nature into separate ministries, and policy is developed for each ministry in isolation of the others and is based on siloed advice from highly trained experts, interested parties, or by professional lobbyists and their own political persuasions. Reductionist policy development is universal and is the cause of climate change. What participants at global conferences on biodiversity loss, agriculture, energy, economics, etc. need is to advise world leaders on how to successfully manage this complexity at policy level. We have to change the global narrative to talking about the need for a change in management from the current paradigm to management which would unite all of us, including scientific and academic experts, beyond our personal differences towards a common environmental ethic or purpose, and enable us to see and manage our problems in the far broader context of the complex whole our policies are impacting. And we have a risk-free, inexpensive way to do that by using the guiding filtering process of the holistic management framework. We are able to develop policy in a new way, which guarantees we are managing the complexity of human societies, economies, and nature simultaneously by addressing our needs, desires, and problems in a far broader, holistic context, which includes our social and cultural values, aspirations and behavior, and ties the quality of life we all desire and the stability of our economies to our life-supporting environment, with a description of what that will have to look like far into the future in order to sustain our descendants for many, many generations to come.